everyone. We are at the Paris Summit, and we're going to be live streaming to you all day, where we're going to have people from the AWS service teams that are going to be talking about different features of all these different services. So stick around because we've got a lot in this day. And today's session is going to be about Amazon Location Service. So we've got an amazing team here who's going to be talking to you about Amazon Location Service. So let's do some intros. So Seth.
Hey, I'm Seth Fitzsimmons. I'm a principal engineer on Amazon Location Service. I am in Oregon on the west coast of the United States, and I'm a longtime map nerd.
Nice. Yeah, and Abraham.
Hi, everybody. My name is Abraham Purazizi. I'm a senior developer advocate on the Amazon Location Service team, and I am based out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Excited to be here.
I love it. Yeah, I love how international this is. And we've got a lot of people who are watching who maybe are new to AWS, new to Maps. So for those who are not familiar with Amazon Location Service, Seth, how would you describe it to someone?
Amazon Location Service is AWS's Maps offering. So we have maps, so ways to display maps on a website or a mobile application. Places, which is geocoding and reverse geocoding, so you can find out information about specific locations or find out, I am here, what is here? Routing to get you from point A to point B. And we also have geofencing and tracking. So if you have a bunch of devices, IoT or otherwise, out in the world, and you want to be able to be notified through EventBridge when they pass through some sort of boundary or some sort, that's your go-to.
And I'm sure a lot of people who are listening, I'm sure there's people who have been tasked with having to create a map and they've never had to do it before. Not a lot of people necessarily have that type of experience. I know both of you have extensive experience with maps. So I'd love to hear just maybe some advice that you have for people as they're thinking about creating a map. And then of course, you can segue that into some new feature that has been launched with the Amazon Location Service.
Okay. Yeah, so there are a few parameters that you need to consider when you think about using maps and geospatial services in your application. One is what is your use case? What is it that you're going to use it for? And is using maps the best option for you? And the second thing is, cost, licensing, and that's about it. And I can share a bit of a story about my experience with using OSM data and open data. So there were like a couple of projects that I worked on in the past that were related to open data and OSM. And one of them was an urban planning project where we wanted to build a tool to evaluate how accessible cities are based on points of interest and public infrastructure data. The goal of the second one was to build an open platform for mapping the Arctic. And we built both using the OSM stack, both the data and software. And we used OSM because one, it had a flexible license, and two, it made it so easy for us to update the data and run with it. But as the time went by, it became more challenging to maintain the projects, both in terms of data and infrastructure, especially for projects where we had to work with a relatively large OSM extracts. And because of that, the update cycles broke and the quality of data decreased over time. Now, what excites me about this launch is that you get a fully managed service that is scalable, reliable, and secure, which gives you OSM data and keeps it up to date. So you can just focus on building what matters to you.
I'm so glad that you shared that, because I know that there's someone else who's listening right now, and they're definitely thinking, okay, there's OpenStreetMap, open source. Should I start with that and then put it on EC2 versus using Amazon Location Service? I think it always helps to hear from someone else's experience who's gone down that road, and then everything has a trade-off, right? So now hearing from your experience of, oh, maybe there's more of these fully managed features that Amazon Location Service has that I don't have to think about. Those time savings definitely pan out. At least that's from my experience when I work with early stage startups and I see them looking at anything with EC2 versus the managed version that AWS has spent months, years building out.
Yeah, Open Data Maps is the feature that I wish I had about 10 years ago. So we've got a fully managed map stack that provides tiles, and 4 professionally designed styles. We've got a reference map in dark and light mode, and then a map style intended for visualization, also in a dark and light mode. So they're designed to be able to highlight customer data. And the reason that this would have been really valuable 10 years ago is that I was working at a design studio in San Francisco called Stamen Design, and we were doing tons of mapping projects for clients. And they all involve data overlays and exploration and all of the capabilities that we're providing here. But none of these things really existed. So we had to build our own. Originally, it was on-prem in a basement somewhere. Eventually, by the time I left Stamen, it had moved to the cloud, but it was still a very complex piece of infrastructure. Where, as Abraham said, we needed to pull down large data updates, like approaching 100 gigabytes that end up expanding out into much more, and keeping those things up to date on whatever cadence we needed to. So the fact that AWS is now managing all of that heavy lifting is, I think, really cool, and I wish I had had it. We get the ability to pull in the updates that are made to OpenStreetMap continuously. There are just a ton of people out there that are either enthusiasts improving the maps or corporate editors improving them for specific use cases. And on our cadence, you can get those changes about every month.
Wow.
And you get it in a nice, clean, validated way.
That makes such a difference in terms of just time savings that people get back into being able to do what developers prefer to do, building out features instead of the infrastructure, all that other stuff that you had to do. So now that you were talking about all the different colors and the tiles, I think people probably want to see it by now. So maybe if you can just show us like a demo of Amazon Location Service.
Sure, absolutely. So let me just share my screen. And all right, so first thing you need to do is to go to the AWS Management Console, and you can look up location in the search box up here and click on Amazon Location Service. And this is a landing page. So as Seth mentioned before, Amazon Location Service offers 5 different features: maps, places, routes, geofences, and trackers. And with each one of them, you can do, all cool stuff and build cool apps. So we're going to focus on maps today. So I'm going to click on Maps. And here, there's a button that says Create Map. I'm going to click on that. So first step is to pick a name for our map. And Amazon Location Service provides maps, places, and routes with data from different data providers, and one of them is open data. So I'm just going to choose open data. And under each category, you'll get a different set of map styles. And they're designed to basically meet different use cases and project needs. So in this case, we have light mode, dark mode, map styles for visualization purposes, for navigation. And for this demo, I'm going to pick the dark mode, which is something that I like. And the only thing that I need to do here is to create an API key. So I'll create a new API key here and agree to the terms and click Create Map. And with that, I'll get an interactive map in my console. So next step is to go to the Embed section here. And if I scroll down, I can pick the API keys as the authentication method. And when I scroll down to the page, I can pick my API key and copy and paste the code that is in here in this box and paste it in my code editor. And once I do that and save the HTML file, I can see the interactive map in my browser. So I just copy and paste. I just copied the code. What I'm going to do next is to go to my code editor. So.
So those API keys, those integrate with Cognito. If someone is building an application, then they need to authenticate.
So when we first launched, we launched with support for Cognito. That's the sanctioned way to do web-based and mobile applications that pull AWS credentials in a very scoped-down way, so that you can make sure that your application is secure. And what it does is it exchanges the Cognito information for time-limited credentials. that you can then use in your application. And this is a bit complicated for a lot of the people that just want to embed a map on their website. It's further compounded because rather than AWS providing yet another map rendering toolkit, we encourage our customers to use MapLibre, which is an open source project that's been around for a couple of years based on some work from Mapbox. And using API keys, you can just paste it in as a URL, as Abraham's about to show you, and you don't have to provide any custom code. Before that, we provided some additional sample code that would handle the authentication piece and do the credential exchange. And we found that works well, but we've got a lot of customers who want to take existing applications that incorporate maps and just drop in maps from Amazon location instead of what they were using before. So this way they can do it without adding any additional code.
Okay, cool. So I just pasted the code into my code editor, which is VS Code. And if I save the file and refresh my index.html, I can see the interactive map on my screen. And
wow.
Yeah, and I can zoom in, zoom out, pan around, and see different features in a gorgeous color. So, and this is just a starting point. So you can build on top of this. So you can add your own data to tell a story, to convey information. You can add a search box to enable users to search for places, geocode addresses, things like that. You can add a routing widget, for example, to create a routing planner, for example, and things like that. And to see what you can build with this technology, we have a GitHub repository under AWS samples, GitHub org, so you can check out the samples under AWS location samples and see what you can build with different features that we have to offer.
I'm still just astonished how pretty quickly that was to be able to just like have something just like up. And then I guess
it's fully global. It's fully global. You can use it anywhere in the world.
So the map right now is like the map of the whole world.
Oh yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, I think just being able to see how quickly that can get started, I think that's definitely going to really start getting the wheels turning for people who have these use cases that maybe their manager has told them, hey, we need a map and you need to build it out, or maybe they have to start thinking about a new use case. And I think this is just hopefully inspiring them. So I'm curious for the person who's listening and they know that, okay, I have to build a map. This is a feature that my manager has told me that I have to build. And they want to use Amazon Location. Oh my God, Amazon Location Service. There we go. I'd like to hear from both of you. What advice would you have for this person before they get started or as they're building?
So think pretty deeply about what your end users are trying to achieve with the map, because there's a reason that we have many different styles are available. If you're presenting data, you want something that doesn't conflict with your own data and allows you to highlight that. If you want to help somebody orient themselves within their particular part of the world, we have reference maps for that purpose as well. And sometimes the best map interface is actually pretty constrained. If you're focusing on taxi pickup drop-off data in New York City, there's no reason to be able to have them pan the map and be able to look at Chicago because there's no data there. And also similarly with Zoom constraints and other pieces. I'm curious what you would add to that, Abraham.
Yeah, one of the questions that I hear often from customers is data quality. And depending on where you are in the world, different data providers offer data with different qualities. So what I would suggest is to do your homework, pick a few map styles from different data providers and check out the data quality or completeness in different regions. And with that, you can pick the one that that is fit for purpose, really.
I love both of those suggestions. And Seth, with your suggestion about not needing the whole entire map, would that improve the performance of the map itself if they just intentionally restrained the location to a certain area?
Kind of. I mean, not from the service perspective, but just in terms of the customer perspective, less data is being loaded. So it does end up improving the overall experience.
I love it. I mean, I think people here, there's no way they would have been able to have figured that out, I think, or it would have just taken a lot of trial and error without being able to hear from both of you as experts on this. So where can people go if they want to get started with Amazon Location Service and learn more about how to use it?
Yeah, they can check out our product page, aws.amazon.com/location. And if they want to dive a bit deeper into Amazon Location's features, they can check out our developer documentation.
Great. When we were talking earlier, there was those GitHub links, right? Was there some samples that
we'll have those.
Everyone loves sample code.
Yep, we've got a repository under AWS samples called Amazon-location-samples, and we'll have a link in the chat.
Oh, awesome. Perfect. All right. Seth, Abraham, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your experience and knowledge about Amazon Location Service. And everyone else, yeah, please stick around. We've got more coming up on AWS On Air at the Paris Summit.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.